Welcome to Rock Shop Talk. Our show talks best practices, fun anecdotes, and the latest cutting-edge technology in our field to kick your screen printing gears into hyperdrive. Today's episode discusses DTC and fulfillment. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll be right back.
I want to welcome everybody back to Rock Shop Talk, your one-stop rock shop where we talk all things screen printing. Today, we are talking about direct-to-consumer fulfillment, and we are joined with Jed Seifert of Stakes Manufacturing. I am a ROQUS president, Ross Hunter. Alongside of us, as always, is our creative producer, Mr. Merrill Caps. How's everyone doing today?
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Jeff. This is great to have you.
Oh, great to be here, guys.
Thanks, man.
Absolutely. I love your background there, Merrill. It's our Vancouver, Washington headquarter office, which is actually a house that's been reconverted into office space, but we have a really cool sign out front. So, and we actually got the new sign. I didn't know that was already done. That's awesome.
Magic.
Or you superimposed? Was that some Photoshop skills going on there?
That's Miss Sousa's special seasoning on that image for us.
That's awesome.
Thank you, Kristen. You're awesome. Cool.
Very cool. Well, let's get into some updates, Merrill. Yeah. What's going on in the world of rock?
Gosh, so many things are happening. We're still on tour. We're now like right in the middle of the tour. I'm about to join that for about 3.5 weeks. So we might be on a little bit of a hiatus for the show here. Until then, we might do one on the road in the meantime. But until then, we'll try to keep in touch with social and that jazz. But we're going to see a bunch of you on the road. Excited about that. I'm going to join, I believe my first trip will be joining with Tommy's Tees, which I'm really pumped about. Another Rock Shop Talk veteran team over there. Excited about that. And that's pretty much the biggest thing that we have going on. I mean, there's lots that are going on, but that's probably, as far as how you're concerned, that's what you probably need to know. Outside of that.
Yeah, I heard on the road too, so far, so good with Roxy, the tour bus. However, we lost a window driving down the interstate, and I think we lost a hubcap at one point in time. And I did get a really cool video of some of our partners filling up a shopping cart of random things in a Walmart and playing football inside the Walmart at about, it must have been 11 o'clock at night, wherever they were. Definitely might have had some libations involved there. It was a pretty entertaining video, though.
I might have to see that.
So it's good to see people having fun. It happens when you buy a used RV from a place that maybe you shouldn't buy used RVs from. However, you get like the most smoking deal on the face of the planet. But I think that they might have like duct taped a couple of things on there to make the bus look, aesthetically pleasing.
Question, has the window been replaced, or talk about that?
I think it has been. I know that they taped it up. It was a top like small window on the driver's side door, so I'm not sure.
Well, those are
might just be real
anyway, so we should be fine.
Yeah, we're good. Any marketing updates or anything outside of the tour that we got going on, Merrill?
We got a bunch of great downloads. Let's see, besides the Auto Ready score, by all means, if you haven't done that yet, check and see what your score is. It's a super easy thing. This is free. And once you find out your score, we'll send you a whole bunch of resources as far as how you can become more ready for that and find out what you need to do to prepare yourself for that next step. The second thing about that, we're working on kind of the topic of the day, which is a good segue about how automating fulfillment can transform your business. So look for that too, and reach out with any questions as always, and we're happy to point you in the right direction.
Yeah, and we have a really cool ROI calculator actually on our fulfillment or on our folding packing page. So check that out too, see how you can save some money if you are using flip and folds, which I got a kick out of Jed here when I was touring Stakes about a month ago. And walking through, and I saw some of those fun plastic flip and folds, and we got a good chuckle out of that. So If you are using those, definitely check that ROI calculator out. It'll help you see why that is not always the best solution. But without further ado, yeah.
Just so you know out there too on that topic, by all means, if that's a possibility, by all means, let us know. We'll set up an in-person demo for the folding back stack, all that jazz.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, without further ado, let's introduce Jed Seifert, Stakes Manufacturing. Thank you again, sir, for being with us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you rocking the stakes gear as well.
Oh, I was telling Jed before we got on air here, I love the shirt. I wear it all the time. I got it when I did a tour over at his facility. We shot some really cool videos, which will be coming out soon. So stay tuned for those to learn a lot more about Stakes, what they're doing, how ROQ has kind of introduced itself into their business operations. But these shirts, I actually want more. So I'm just saying, I'm going to throw that out there now. I might have to come back for another visit, though, to pick some up because we got to, give and take there. But I do love the shirt. So, Jed, tell us a little bit about Stakes, the company history, where you guys started, where it's kind of gone to today, and what, specific market niche you guys, are involved in there.
Absolutely. So Stakes is a print-on-demand apparel company. We're pretty different, though, than most of your sort of traditional print-on-demand companies out there because we're fully B2B. Most of the print-on-demand companies out there, you're going to have an app in the Shopify marketplace that the general public can just go sign up, start selling. So, any mom and pop up to big brands can be able to use their service. We're a bit different. We are the print-on-demand company that's trusted by the pros. So we work closely with large aggregators and provide a white label B2B print-on-demand service. So some of our partners consist of we're the only domestic DTG printer for all the sports leagues and fanatics. We also work with a ton of record labels. So we're doing stuff for the Beatles and Rolling Stones and Jimi Hendrix and a lot of cool stuff like that. We also do some TV and entertainment like ABC and Discovery, Shark Week coming up. So that's a big one for us as well. And then we also work with a ton of t-shirt companies like, Redbubble, Threadless, TeePublic, and the traditional print-on-demand providers you might think are our competition, but they're actually some of our best partners. So, we are printing for, the Printifys, the Gutens, a lot of screen printers as well. A lot of screen printers are utilizing our wholesale program. So we have two sort of programs. One is we integrate into the back end of your website via API or a number of other integration options, and we receive direct consumer orders. So you go to NFL.com from DC. So I get my Washington football team shirt. I get Jed number 11 on the back. That order then comes directly to Stakes. Stakes will print it and ship it within 2 days. We'll white label it as if we're the NFL and Fanatics, so the end consumer doesn't know that we even exist. So that's sort of our direct consumer fulfillment, and that's the majority of our business. But the really growing part of our business is the wholesale side, where we're starting to support a lot of brands and screen printers. And you say screen printers, well, why would they use us? They use us because we allow them to lower their minimums. A lot of screen printers don't want to print less than 144 units. So they can send wholesale orders as low as 24 units to us. There's really no minimum at that if they're integrated. And they'll send stuff to us that's high color count. They'll send stuff to us that's photoreal images that will print better digitally. And quick turn is really a big one. So we're doing a lot of wholesale stuff for printers. And then for the brand side, we're doing a lot of smaller orders so that they can support boutique retailers who don't want to buy 1,000 shirts or even hundreds of shirts. As well as fill orders. So, the unifying theme of all the partners that we work with, though, is that they care about quality. And really, that's where we've separated ourselves in the industry is, by our proprietary file prep process, and everything that we do to allow digital printing to Pantone match so that you can print for the sports leagues and, the Beatles and Stand Up to Cancer and all these people who have very valuable IP, distinct Pantones in their branding. And so it's been an exciting time for our company as well. COVID last year, while it posed a ton of challenges, was actually quite a bit of an accelerator for our business. So
it's great to hear.
Yeah, we actually, with everybody moving towards e-commerce, which was already happening, COVID was kind of just fuel on the fire. And it took what probably would have taken like 3 years of growth and did it in about 6 months. So we tripled the size of our business in that 6-month period last year. And then coming into this year, the big question was, was it going to continue? And we're pacing to double the size of our business this year. So we really don't see anything slowing down. So it's an exciting time for the print on demand industry, DTG. And really it's kind of the future because everybody's seeing the flaws with overproduction and, everybody's looking for quick turn, lower quantities. It doesn't want to have their cash sitting in cotton on a shelf collecting dust. And I think the other question you asked was kind of how this all started. So
absolutely.
My business partner and I have been best friends since we were 5 years old. We're basically brothers. His family's at my house for Thanksgiving. My family's at his house for Christmas.
Nice.
And we started out in the print on demand space, actually not in apparel. So our first company was a company, Music Skins. So we did vinyl skins for iPods and cell phones and electronic devices. Back in 2008, we started that business. And we had licensing deals with pretty much everybody in the entertainment space, pop culture. So everything from the Beatles to Justin Bieber, to SpongeBob, to South Park, to Muhammad Ali, to Kim Kardashian. I mean, it really ran the gamut. But with our business, we had thousands of licenses. We had thousands of devices. And the devices, as we all know, the devices have a shelf life of a year before they come out with a new iPhone, and then everybody has that. So our business model was not conducive to inventory and wholesale production. So everything that we printed, whether it was, 50,000 units for Hot Topic or individual one-off orders coming through the website, everything that we printed was print on demand and just in time. So we had a successful sale of that company back in 2011. And after we sold that company, we partnered with a printing company, Jack Prints out of Cleveland, who we had worked closely with during our time at Music Skins. They had printed a lot of our back sheets and marketing materials. And after we sold the company, we came to those guys and we said, hey, look, we're interested in starting a print on demand program with apparel. We want to take your guys' printing expertise with our print on demand business model expertise and our portfolio of partners, and we want to launch this B2B program. And again, when we set out, we only wanted to work with these larger aggregators. So whether it's, the record label that represents 150 bands or, a website that represents tens of thousands of artists or a platform site. So we grew that business from 2012 till 2019. And in 2019, we had the opportunity to acquire that division from Jack Prints, rebranded as Stakes Manufacturing. And there's been no turning back since. It's really just been a rocket ship, and it's been very exciting.
That's awesome, man.
Wow.
So were you guys able then to carry over a lot of the licenses that you had in the original company? Because I know you mentioned some of the same names, the Beatles and some of these, or did you recreate those relationships then with the new business going on apparel, coming away from the technology or electronic space?
Yeah, great question. So we don't do any licensing at Stakes. We don't do any sales. We are just the guys behind it. We're just the printers who are making the product, and we're fulfilling it as if we're our partners, but we're not actually selling direct to consumer or licensing anything. Now we work with tons of licensors and licensees and IP holders, and our relationships with a lot of the record labels and entertainment companies that we, successfully flourished over the years in the Music Skins days absolutely helped us grow relationships that we could do print on demand. But it's definitely different people even in the organization. While it's still under the consumer products umbrella, you have most of these organizations have their licensing division And then they have their sort of sourcing and production division. So we had to kind of transition from the licensing side of these organizations over to production and sourcing. And as we all know, when you do good business with people, they're always open to do more business with you. So we were definitely able to use those relationships to kind of quickly jumpstart the business and continue to grow and cultivate those relationships, become a more meaningful part of these guys' supply chain. Because I mean, even when we were doing the skins products, it's still like an ancillary product. It's an accessory. But t-shirts and sweatshirts are everybody's bread and butter.
Absolutely.
Sure.
So in terms of your model of fulfillment, so you talked about APIs, you guys integrate in with these other companies, their consumer places an order, probably goes into a queue that then transfers over to your system, says, hey, we've got this Redskins shirt, this is the artwork, this is what goes on it. But after you guys receive that, knowing that you're all digital printing, can you just very rudimentarily walk us through what that fulfillment process looks like, just in terms of that direct to because you basically are going to consumer after you get the order. So when that comes in, where does it go from there? And how do you guys maintain the quality and the speed that you're talking about through that process? Because 2 days is a quick turnaround going direct to someone's home address, essentially, right? So can you kind of walk us through what that looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. And just to clarify, the 2 days is for us to ship it out. So depending on how the customer pays for shipping, it could show up the third day, it could show up the fifth
right
day, depending on what method that they're using. And quite frankly, 2 days we think is too long. We all live in this new Amazon world. So, our goal as a business is to get to a 24-hour or less turn time. And 40% of the stuff we shipped last month shipped in less than 24 hours. So that's really where we're driving towards. So, we have a very large facility, and a good portion of that facility is warehouse. We inventory 12,000 different SKUs, so that we can be very quick. And so essentially an order comes in, the person will go, one of our employees will go pick the shirt off the shelf out of its bin. They'll adhere a sticker to it, which has a QR code. That QR code will then tell the printer exactly what it's printing and all the proper settings to have. And it's also going to pop up on the screen with the mock-up, not just the production file, but also the mock-up. So it matches what the customer is seeing on their website, because really we want to hit the customer's expectations. And we'll print it. And when it comes off the back of the printer, it goes onto the dryer. When it comes off the dryer, it goes to a QC station. Each of the QC stations is equipped with a 42-inch TV where they scan the barcode. Up pops, again, that mock-up, as big as it can be. And we'll tell it how many print locations it's supposed to have. If there's any inside label branding, I'd say about 50% of the stuff we print, we tear away the inside tag and print in the brand of the organization. So instead of sending out a Gildan shirt, you're sending out a Stand Up to Cancer shirt. So once QC has checked it, it then can go to any of three different directions within our facility now. So one direction is the analog direction, which you brought up before, which would be old school flip and fold, and then can go into a manual packaging process where you're literally just taking the folded shirt and you're slipping it into the package, and then you're taking the shipping label and you're adhering it to it. That is the slow process. Then the other process that we have is a little bit more automated, which is the shirt comes off, it goes to the fulfillment desk, and then we have a different type of auto bagger that just blows air into the bag. You put the shirt in, seals it, stamps on the shipping label, and then out it pops. And then the third method, which we're most excited to talk about on this, is our ROQ method, which is we then take the shirts over to the ROQ machine. The ROQ machine will then fold it, bag it, and slap on the shipping label. We actually met you guys back in early 2019 or late 2018.
Yeah.
And when
I think it was a trade show.
Yeah. And when we first saw the machine, we loved what it did, but it really wasn't made for our business. It was made for your traditional manufacturer because it would put it into a clear poly bag and then just stamp on like a barcode or UPC, whatever, onto it, which we don't use clear poly bags. We don't use UPC. All we want is a poly mailer. So we talked with you guys about how we could engineer this machine to be able to not just fold and bag, but be able to be a fulfillment station and actually adhere the shipping label to it. So you guys took a few months, did some R&D on it, and came back with a finished product that's great. And we've got 3 of them. So, it's exciting for us because it's really enabled us to be more efficient as a business. Last year, during our tremendous growth, where we tripled the size of the business, we actually had 800% growth in employees. We hired 350 people in a 6-month period, and it was nuts. There's no other word. It was absolutely crazy, and we still couldn't hire fast enough. And we got your equipment installed just in time because going into the holiday, which Black Friday, Christmas is our Super Bowl. It's you see volumes anywhere from 2 to 7 times what you would see from every partner, during that period, especially, and then you get maybe a 10 times spike, if not more, on Black Friday and Cyber Monday specifically. And
just so we can, I'm going to cut you off real quick, but just so we can get our listeners an idea here, during that season, in a 24-hour period, how many single units are being shipped out your door a day?
Up to 25,000.
25,000 zeros after that.
Yeah.
So,
that's awesome.
So
that's the 350 people. I get it.
Yeah, and some of those people aren't even permanent. So we run about right now this is sort of non-peak for us. We're more at like a 250 to 275. But every year we have to staff up about 100 people for Q4 just because of the sheer volume. And when you staff up that amount of people in such a short period of time, it leads to a lot of challenges. One, user error, because you're trying to train people, you're trying to get them up to speed. 2, you're just trying to hire that many people. And by the way, everybody else is trying to, hire those people at the same time because everybody else is hiring their seasonal staff. So we literally couldn't hire fast enough. And we did the calculations that if we didn't bring in your guys' equipment, which we brought in last minute, late in the game in fourth quarter, just before holiday really kicked off, if we hadn't brought it in, we would have had to hire anywhere from 40 to 50 additional fulfillment employees because of just how efficient we were able to get off. So the ROI was huge, but even beyond that, it took a lot of pressure off of our HR department. It also took a lot of pressure off of our managers. That's 40, 50 less people that they have to train to do things. When you start talking about sort of speed, when on a manual bagger, they're doing maybe anywhere from 40 to 70 an hour, depending on how long they've been doing it. On our other auto baggers that you're just doing one at a time, maybe 100 an hour. With your guys' equipment, and I got to silo it into 2 different categories, right? So when we're shipping and we're putting a shipping label on it, on your equipment, we're getting easily 200 an hour, if not more. And that's and when we aren't putting the shipping label, because we'll also do stuff where we're just for wholesale and stuff where we're just using it as just a straight folder and stacker, we can get over, we're getting 400 some odd an hour. And really the only thing that holds up the shipping part of it and why it's so much slower has nothing to do with your equipment. It's actually the fact that, our system is having to call, FedEx, calls on FedEx to buy postage or USPS to buy postage and is waiting for the calls to come back. So it's really sort of the communication with us and the shipping, creating the shipping labels. But either way, you're talking about a tremendous amount of speed and saving us a lot of employee hiring that last year, again, I don't know what we would have done because we had hired every person that we could. I mean, it got to the point where our hiring method was like, wait a second, hold on, let me put the temperature gun. Wait, Number starts with a 9. Come on in. You can work for us. I mean, it was that challenging to get people to work last year. I mean, it's starting to get better, but it was rough trying to get people in. So
that's really interesting. That's such we don't ever talk about that. Maybe we could talk more about that after the break, but we don't ever talk about the cross outside of the face value benefits of this. So like the operators and the business, but like cross departmental benefits like you're talking about is really fascinating. That hadn't occurred to me before. So this is great insight. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, with that, let's take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we will talk more direct to consumer and fulfillment. We will be right back.
Shopify reports more than half of consumer brand manufacturers are shifting their traditional retail strategies to offer products directly to a consumer. Download the How Automating Your Fulfillment Can Transform Your Business ebook so you can find out why the industry's top DTC fulfillment companies trust their operation and reputation with ROQ Automation. To download your free copy today, please visit ROQ.us or call 1-87-ROCKET now. That's 877-674-8669.
Want to welcome everybody back to ROQ Shop Talk, your one-stop rock shop where we talk all things screen printing. Today we are discussing direct-to-consumer printing and fulfillment, and we are joined with Jed Seifert of Stakes Manufacturing. I'm ROQ US President Ross Hunter, and alongside of me, as always, is our creative producer, Mr. Merrill Capps. Welcome back, everyone.
Hey, thank you. Thank you.
So we kind of ended with this idea of, how automation, let's just call it automation in general, can have an effect not only on, the operators, and management that's running the floor, but Jed had kind of mentioned this whole idea that cross-departmentally it makes a difference. And you kind of mentioned, HR, for example, with this machine, just in terms of hiring, it helped create, I guess, would you call it an opportunity cost within these other departments where you kind of mitigated one issue to free up time, for these folks to deal with other things? I mean, how would you describe that impact? Because that is a really interesting way to think about this that I don't think many people, myself included, think about when you're thinking about ROI. You tend to think about that direct effect of like, okay, I don't need to hire these 40 people. How much is that worth? How much does the machine cost? Boom, math makes sense. I'm good, right? But all those other things, when you guys are making those decisions, what is that impact? What does that look like? And can you explain a little bit more about it?
Yeah, I don't know how you put a tangible dollar figure on it unless you really just start calculating all the time that your managers are doing it. But before the break, we talked about sort of eliminating the need to hire those 40 to 50 people, eliminating the need to train those 40 to 50 people. But if anybody's ever been a manager in any business, not printing anywhere, half of your job, if not more of it, is just managing the people, managing the personalities, the things that are going on. So, to take away 40 to 50 people that you'd have to manage, not just their job, but, their personal well-being, because, your people are the lifeblood of your business, right? And we firmly believe that you build people and then they build your business, right? So, it's important that you find quality people. It's important that you find consistency. So, we talked about before the break too, our need to scale up during the holidays. Well, the less we have to scale up during the holidays, the more efficient we are as a business. And the reality is our scaling is primarily in the fulfillment department because we only have X amount of machines. We only have X amount of operators that we can have, right? And there's only so many people in the warehouse that can be running around grabbing shirts off. It's really the fulfillment area in that is impacted the most because you go from, again, you basically triple the amount of packages you're shipping out the door, if not more, during the holiday. And a lot of that burden is on the fulfillment department. So, just think about the average number of employees that report into a manager. And so not only are you talking about 40 to 50 more employees, but you're also talking about more managers that you're going to have to hire to manage those employees because your current management staff can't just go, oh, yeah, just throw on another 40, 50 people. yeah, I'll deal with them. Because, again, personalities, needs, training, it's a lot. And and you want to keep that consistency. So, the more steady your staff is throughout the year, the more seasoned veterans you have, and just the better your organization is going to run. So it's had a really big impact. And I think the other thing that I wanted to mention too was you were talking about sort of this cross-departmental. I actually left out the third department that we use it for. So we've got one part is the direct-to-consumer individual orders. The other part that we have our wholesale orders. But then we also have a 3PL that actually rents space within our building, that they inventory finished goods, and we'll actually deliver product to them, literally cart it over to them so that they can take, a coffee mug or a hat off the shelf that's inventory, marry it together, ship it out so there's no split shipment. And the beauty of the ROQ machine is, and I believe you guys have multiple configurations, but we have it set up in the T configuration. So basically, if it's an individual consumer order, it goes off to the right side and will get bagged and shipping labeled and then drops into a bin. And then we'll go to the sorting folks to get it out on the shipping dock, or it will go to the left. And if it goes to the left, it's just going to stack up the folded shirts. So we can then either take those stacks and just literally cart them over to the 3PL within our organization, or take those, if there's wholesale orders, then we would literally just be running everything to that side, because you're just grabbing it order by order, as opposed to, hundreds, if not thousands of individual orders that are carted over. So it's really had that flexibility to kind of help both sides of that business.
Wow.
That's awesome.
It's a holistic, systemic savings built into that perpetually. That's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things I wanted to talk about too, because you kind of mentioned a little bit about, culture through this conversation. And one of the biggest things about my visit out there, I walked in and felt like home. And it is very rare that you walk into a business, no one's ever met you. Someone walks up, greets me. Oh, we knew you were coming. Come on in. Let me show you around. Didn't know me from Adam. And I've got to say, congratulations, man. Everyone I met there was unbelievable. And I talked to a lot of your team when I was out there, from operators, people, managers, your head of HR. And we talked a lot about your culture. Can you explain, to people out there, you said people run your business. I agree with that sentiment 1,000%. But I don't think all business owners, we've got all different types that listen to this podcast, from people just getting into business to veterans like you that have owned multiple businesses at this point. But how much time and effort do you guys spend on culture? Do you spend on hiring? Do you spend on diversity? Do you spend on training? And what taught you to do that? I think it's important to know where that comes from, because you guys have just done an incredible job.
Well, first, thank you for the kind words. It's always great to hear that. We believe that culture really is maybe the most important thing in any business, because again, your people are either going to make you or they're going to break you. It's that cut dry. It's you either build the right culture that your company can grow with, or you're just always playing cleanup, or it could just be really detrimental to your business and could even ruin your business. I grew up in a very diverse area in sort of Bethesda, Maryland, right outside of Washington, D.C. My brother has Fragile X, which is a developmental disability. So I was highly involved in Special Olympics. I sit on the board of directors for the National Fragile X Foundation. I sit on the board of directors for an organization called SEEK, which helps people in the DC area with disabilities find meaningful employment. So it's really always been ingrained in me to A, give back, but B, inclusion is the most important thing. My brother getting a job working at the Securities Exchange Commission in the mailroom changed his life. It gave him purpose,
awesome.
Gave him independence, it gave him the ability to support himself. And it wasn't just him. It took the burden off my parents, who spent every day, hoping they didn't die early because they wouldn't know how he would be supported and if he would be financially okay. So it's always been, a really big deal for me. And I've taken, and for my business partner as well. Like I said, I grew up with him. He's like our brother. So it's like, my brother's like his brother to him. So, it's
Right.
always been ingrained in us to be inclusive. And it's not just disabilities. We're talking about all races, all religions, all sexual orientations. We really pride ourselves on being accepting of everybody, and really everybody deserves the ability to work and should be empowered. And, that's really important to us. So we've really made that a priority in our organization. You walk around, we've got 4 people that are deaf. We've got 2 people that are autistic. We've got a wonderful lady who's got cerebral palsy in a wheelchair. We've got a couple people with Asperger's. We have other people on the spectrum that I don't even think have been diagnosed. But I think a lot of people think that doing that is just like a charity, but it absolutely is not. What people don't understand is hiring people with disabilities. First of all, you're going to get some of the most dedicated workforce that you've ever had. People that love going to work, people that actually find it comforting to do repetition, things that might make people without disabilities bored or think it's monotonous. It actually makes them feel at home. People with disabilities learn from repetition and find comfort in repetition and routine. And when you see somebody with disabilities working their butt off and outperforming you, or just performing as well as you, it doesn't really matter. It's not a competition. But you see people with disabilities out there working their butts off, it inspires your staff. Everybody works harder. Everybody's more grateful. Everybody's nicer to each other. And that's really the culture that we're trying to build, because all too often people think culture is like, oh, well, we do all these perks, which we do, right? We'll do free lunch for our staff once a week. We do some other stuff, that I think that people enjoy to try to do team building, but that's not real culture. Culture is built by, setting the standard and sharing it from the mountaintops. It's written on the walls. It's in every ad that we have, in every employment, every employee video. It's always about an inclusive workplace. We can find a home for anybody from any walk of life with any ability. And I think that is really, it's really built up our staff. It makes your organization, no matter what size it is, feel smaller and more like a family, even if you're growing at a rapid clip like we are. And I think it's something that it's probably one of the things I'm most proud of in my professional career, is the culture that we've built.
You should be, man.
It's a beautiful thing.
It really truly was inspiring, and the whole family aspect of it. I mean, you just feel it. It exudes when you walk into a place with 350 people, or maybe 275. The day I was there for 2 shifts. I was there for both days, and you didn't even feel a difference in the shifts. Which I've been to large organizations before that are running 24 hours, and there is a clear cultural difference between the first shift and that second shift. And I couldn't have even told you that there were different people coming in and out. I mean, it was just really cool to see. So, and thank you for sharing your story about your family and kind of, everything you're involved in that got you here. And I just want to make the point to all the other businesses out here listening, it's just as it is to Jed at Stakes and his business partner, at ROQ. It's a huge focus of ours too, diversity, inclusion, creating a culture that's fun, that is inclusive, that, this is such a cool industry, and you want it to feel like family. It is small. So, those of you listening, focus on your culture, focus on your people, care for people. It's what will take you to the top. It's what's going to make you grow 800% during a COVID year. Jed and Stakes, I'm sure you would say this, you couldn't have done that without those people. You couldn't have done it without people walking in the door and being willing to bust their asses to help you guys get to where you're at. And then you in turn helping them to get them to where they want to be. And I think that's the whole reciprocation of culture and business.
And it's more necessary now than ever before, because I mean, our building is within 15, 20 miles of 2 different Amazon facilities. So the competition to get employees is at an all-time high. So, by creating that sort of family environment, like you said, is how we differentiate ourselves from the Amazons, the Walmarts, and the Costcos that we're competing against, because we make people feel better coming to work. And I think that you haven't heard the end of us yet about the disability side, because we are building with a couple local organizations, and we are trying to basically build a case study / blueprint for the printing industry. And our goal is to really set the standard, but then we want to start working with all the different print trade organizations and really show them how we've had success doing this, because I think a lot of people are intimidated by it. A lot of people don't think they have the management resources to set it up. They don't understand that there's organizations out there that will help support them, that actually make it easier, that will train your employees for you. There's so many different things that people just don't realize are out there. So we really want to be sort of the champions of how we can include inclusiveness with people with disabilities in the print industry, because I think there's just so many opportunities and so many positions that make sense. So look for that coming soon, and maybe we'll do a follow-up interview once we're ready for that.
We'd love to be a part of that, man, and help get the word out there, to the industry as well. I mean, it's so important. So that's awesome.
Definitely love that.
Well, not to completely change subjects, but how. You know what? Let's go to a commercial break, and that's a good place to actually cut this off. That was a great conversation. So we'll go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll get a little bit more into the technical side of DTC and fulfillment. So with that, we will be right back.
We know you want to continue to stay in the forefront of the industry, but there are several variables to consider when determining the best time for your business to automate. We believe your attention is too valuable to be lost to this concern, which is why we worked with our incredible partners like you to develop the first ever Automation Ready Score. Visit ROQ.us to receive your free Automation Ready Score today and press onward.
I want to welcome everybody back to Rock Shop Talk, your one-stop rock shop where we talk all things screen printing. Today we are talking about direct-to-consumer printing and fulfillment. We are joined with Jed Seifert of Stakes Manufacturing. I'm ROQ US President Ross Hunter, and alongside of us, Mr. Merrill Capps, our creative producer. Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the install experience. So Jed kind of mentioned we spent a few months developing, right, this ROQ fold pack and shipping label solution for them specifically, which always is fun, kind of being a beta. We had a folder, we had a packer, we had a label maker, but doing it all to work with their system to get it in there. They got 3 units. We're coming up right before, their quote Super Bowl, end quote. I mean, really high time season around Christmas and Black Friday and all those holidays. And we were there for a long time. So we had a technician, his name's Brian, and he was on site, I want to say, for close to almost a month, and getting things installed, making tweaks, making, adjustments. I think, there was multiple days where he'd actually work through all 3 of your shifts, or at least 2, and then come back later and work on another one. And we had to do a lot of work. I mean, it was quite a project to set this up and get everything going. Can you kind of explain that experience that your staff had there, kind of what you guys saw from us, and kind of how that whole experience is, just kind of getting a beta unit up and going and running would be cool.
Yeah, and I think before that, I want to tell you guys how much I appreciate everything you guys have done, because when we came to you with the idea, we didn't commit $1. We didn't promise any purchases. We just had an idea. We just said, hey, it would be great if your machine did this. And, as a company that does R&D ourselves, we know that there's a cost to that, time, effort, and you guys did it and did it successfully. So we were really appreciative of that. You said you thought you could do it, and you did it. That's incredible. You not only helped us with the machines, but you helped us source the right material to use the poly mailer. You helped us source the right vendor locally. I mean, it was really just a tremendous experience. And then Brian, well, you got a good one in Brian, because, I mean, we basically have to tell him to go home because otherwise, which hopefully that rubs off on other people, because he was great. And I think, so for us, we also appreciate the amount of time he put in and the amount of time that you guys committed to having to support us, because we needed it, right? At the end of the day, we were going into our Super Bowl. The reality is, beginning to Q4, we're already running 100 miles per hour. There's no slowdown. So like, we didn't have the time, the bandwidth, or the management staff to properly learn the machines and train people on machines in the minuscule window we provided ourselves from like the beginning of November until Thanksgiving to get this all up and running and everything rocking and rolling. And then, we did it over that 3-week period. And then and Brian stayed over after to make sure not only was everybody trained, not everything working, but once we started getting into that tens of thousands of units a day that we were pumping out of the facility, he was there to make sure that it worked in production, right? Because it's always easy to make something work once, or when you just
yes, we call that trade show working.
Yeah,
so
exactly. But what happens when I try to run thousands of units off that machine 24 hours? I'm running it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. How does it stand the test of time? So Brian was tremendous at helping train our team. Again, we literally didn't have the bandwidth because we're dealing with, there was a lot of things we were dealing with. So many new faces, typically going into holiday, maybe we're hiring 100 people that were seasonal, but like half of our staff had only been there for anywhere from 30 to 60 days. So everybody's new. There was no seasoned veterans. And,
there was a big storm, wasn't there, if I remember correctly?
Oh God. Yeah. I mean, anything that can, you own a business, anything.
There was like, you guys like had the compounded. Yeah. It was like one of those when it rains, it pours situations.
Of course. COVID, snowstorms, last minute integrations, we like to keep it interesting. We don't want to get bored over here. But we literally wouldn't have had the time to properly train people. We didn't have the managers to support it. And the other thing too was we couldn't afford to dedicate our best fulfillment, our most seasoned and best fulfillment people to the ROQ, because we needed them doing the other processes, because the gap in what their performance would be compared to these new people that have been there for 30 days was huge. So we're taking people that literally might have been hired 2 weeks ago and putting them on this machine. So it was really important that we had the support. It was really important that we had the proper training to understand the equipment, him there to be able to troubleshoot. Because that's the other thing. Let's be frank. I've never installed a single piece of equipment in any capacity from any company that didn't have problems during, sort of the launch. You always got to kind of work out the kinks, as they say. So to have somebody there to support it, you guys dedicating him for that amount of time was tremendous. And it took a lot of the burden off of our staff. And I think it really helped grow sort of the ROQ Stake strategic partnership too, because it showed that you weren't just there to sell us a piece of equipment and disappear. You were there to support us and there to make sure that it was working, because what a lot of people don't understand is an hour of downtime, hours of downtime, even an hour is detrimental to our business when we are at capacity for that sort of Black Friday until Christmas. So we can't afford downtime. And to be able to, when there were issues, to be able to fix them quickly and attentively. And it's not just Brian. I don't want to give him all the credit, because, you also have a tremendous team that supported him, both here stateside and as well as in Portugal. And you guys gave our team full access. So while Brian may have wanted to sleep in our facility or may have been willing to sleep in our facility, he absolutely couldn't. And we run 24 hours a day. So you guys properly set us up with support, in Portugal, so that we made sure that there was always somebody that we could call, even if it was 3 a.m. on a Sunday and something was broken. So it was great support. It was a great install. And we're looking forward to continuing to develop with the equipment as well. We've got some ideas.
Absolutely. And yeah, it was great to visit you last time and meet with the team. And we've had, meetings since with Portugal. And I mean, that's the big thing with the ROQ equipment. We're constantly developing, engineering, making things better, to better fit the needs of all of our different types of clients. Cause everyone is different. I mean, to your point, you don't really have competition, as you were saying, in the traditional sense in your space. I mean, I'm sure you have competitors, but, there's less. It's more you actually have other printers relying on you guys or working with other printers, right, to help with their fulfillment needs. So each kind of business uses this equipment differently. And, we've been developing this folding line, just so everyone knows, the first iteration of this was actually created by the two brothers that started ROQ 25 years ago. The first iteration of this came out.
Wow.
So the development, right, that's happened throughout time and what we've been able to do in the last 18 months with this machine is absolutely incredible. So if you haven't seen one, hit us up. And we've got folding, packing, stacking, labeling units all over the country at this point. Happy to set up a shop visit or a demo anywhere out there for anyone who wants to see one. Just hello at ROQ.us and we'll get you set up to take a look at one. Otherwise, come visit us at a trade show. We typically will have the full line at Long Beach. So ISS in January, we'll have our full suite of products there. Yeah, it's awesome. It's such a cool machine. It's mesmerizing for me to stand and just watch it because it's one of those machines it's very cool looking.
Yeah, it is.
It is cool looking.
You see printers that print T-shirts. Yeah, they're cool too. You see other equipment that we have, they're cool too. But the ROQ, the folder bagger is like, how do I just? It's almost like a novelty. Like everybody who comes to our facility, that's the part of the tour where they go, oh, that's cool. Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Once you start seeing those arms folding up the shirt and then, the stacker and the bagger, it is definitely a cool piece of equipment and people always get excited to see it. So it's worth checking out, even if you don't need that in your facility. It's definitely worth checking out what the technology does. And you guys have done a really good job streamlining it.
Thank you
awesome.
so much for that.
So to kind of segue just kind of into your thoughts on the industry in general, where do you see our industry going, the rest of this year, into next year? You kind of touched on this a little bit just with, we were all waiting to see if, now that we're back to normal, I'm putting that in major quotation marks with my hands here for those of you that are just listening to the podcast, but now that we're back to normal, you said that, we're waiting to see, is this online thing going to change? Are people's buying habits going to go back to, shopping in a mall, or is everyone understanding the convenience of the internet at this point? So what do you see? Like, how do you kind of see this going the rest of this year and into next, just from a global industry perspective?
Yeah. I mean, I think that this is, while COVID was an accelerator, it was already happening, and I don't think that there is any going back. E-commerce is everything. Brick and mortar is dying a slow death. Not that there's not still value there, but when COVID hit, people like my mom, who are in her mid-70s, never shopped online for a number of reasons, including weird fears of her identity being stolen and all types of stuff, right? It just was never an online shopper. And then all of a sudden she was forced to buy her groceries online to get them delivered. She's never going to go to a mall again to buy her gifts, ever. She's a total convert. Absolutely. And I think so. You've got people that were never doing it, are doing it more. People have gotten more comfortable with e-commerce. And again, we've seen a lot of the challenges with mass production. We've seen a lot of the challenges with overseas production, and not just COVID related. And it's really set the stage for the direct to garment industry to just blow up. And And the growth is going to be incredible because right now it's such a minute percentage. I think the decorated apparel industry is like $15 billion and digital printing is less than 2% of that. So, so you're in an industry that's already booming, but is very much so in its infant stages. You've got a lot of early adopters that use it. You've got a lot of people who, but anybody who doesn't talk about on demand and has a brand and is doing consumer products probably won't have a job that long because they're going to be the companies that are falling behind. So, everybody kind of realized once they had to shut the physical doors, oh my God, maybe we should have invested more time and resources into e-commerce. And now that they're building their e-commerce arm, there's higher margins in e-commerce. You don't have to, you got less employees, you got less brick and mortar. And you're seeing this transition, not just with small, it's everybody. I mean, you look at Nike and the way Nike, sure, you still buy Nike shoes everywhere, but the focus on driving everything to their website as a destination to build their sales there, it's the way everything is going, right? Everything is going towards e-commerce. Everything is going to fast, quick turn fulfillment. The desire to personalize and customize is at an all-time high and is continuing to climb higher and higher because while we sell cotton and ink, what we're really selling is people's personal expression, right? Whether it's my Washington football team shirt, your steak shirt that you're wearing, your favorite nonprofit, some goofy saying, it doesn't matter what it is. Your kid's soccer team, it's your own little billboard of your personality and who you are. So I think that as I've said probably 3 times already, this industry is just in its infant stages. It's going to continue to grow at a very rapid clip. And you're starting to see people that you might have never thought would do on demand are now doing on demand. People are realizing that it needs to be a part of their business model. And it doesn't just cannibalize the other part. It actually makes you better, it allows you to be more methodical with your mass production. Like, why go print 10,000 shirts of what you think is going to be your best design when you could launch 10 designs on your website and let your people decide what's the best based off of sales and then go to retail with that?
Absolutely.
When you have a success on a t-shirt design, like why just sell that t-shirt when you can sell it on fleece and kids and youth and onesies and all types of other things? So it's allowing people to expand their catalogs, create additional revenue streams. And most importantly, people are as risk adverse as they've been with cash flow due to seeing what COVID can do to your business. So, giving people the ability to have more money to invest in their business and marketing and sales and growing their operation is a tremendous benefit from not having to spend all that money to have that cash sitting in cotton on the shelf with a bunch of finished goods that you may or you may not sell through.
Which, that brings up an interesting point too, that I don't think it's pointed out enough in the direct to consumer fulfillment space, which is, as we all know, our industry is not great for the environment from a t-shirt perspective, right? Inks and stuff like that are pretty negligible in the environmental impact. But when I'm talking environmental impact, it's how we're getting our cotton, how much water we're using, how these things are sewn, all these factories, the labor involved, all the shipping overseas, back and forth, so on and so forth, right? And, to your point, Jed, when you're talking about bulk fulfillment or, bulk ordering, you've got people that'll print 5,000, 10,000 designs. What happens when people don't buy those stuff? Those shirts, typically, they're not recycled. They're tossed. They end up donated, and then they end up back overseas in the streets of, I could put pictures up at some point, but it's disturbing to see how many of our unused garments just end up in piles in streets in Haiti and some of these other, third world countries that are basically taking our waste. And, with direct to consumer fulfillment, the people that are ordering that shirt, they want it. They're going to wear it. They're going to put it in their closet and they're going to wear it. To your point, it's their personal expression. It's their statement. It's not a freebie that was thrown out at a ball game. It's something that they want. And so It'll be interesting to see as this continues. To your point, it's about 2%, of the total market right now. As that grows, I'm curious to see what the environmental impact is going to be as our industry continues to shift that way, because I'm hoping there would be less waste because there's less mass production being done. You're still producing and shipping out 25,000 pieces a day, but that's going to 25,000 people's homes that are, opening a package and they're excited to, get their garment and put it on and wear it with pride, and it stays in their closet. So just kind of an interesting point that I wonder how that will actually look when it comes to fruition.
Yeah, and it's the t-shirt industry, the decorated apparel industry is also growing tremendously. I think I saw a stat that in the next 5 years it's going to grow by 50%. So that's incredible growth, and it's not just the waste; it's also the production methods, the inks you're using. Digital printing is breaking down the stigmas, like you mentioned, of the print industry, which really doesn't have a good reputation at all.
No.
But when you're printing digitally, you're eliminating the waste, you're using water-based inks, you're using less energy to make the product. So yeah, I think it definitely has a huge impact on sort of the carbon footprint of the industry and the reputation of the industry. And that's exciting to be a part of too.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was interesting too when you talked about your mom online shopping and how prevalent that's become. I just read an article yesterday of kind of the whole reason that Amazon bought Whole Foods. And it wasn't because they wanted to own grocery stores. Well, it is because they wanted to own grocery stores. It's not because they wanted to own Whole Foods. They bought it to understand the business model of how to run the grocery business, to then open what's going to be called Amazon Fresh. And they're planning on opening these small boutique, I'm guessing like Trader Joe's size grocery stores all over the country. And the goal is to get groceries delivered to consumer at their home in 24 hours or less. And so their whole point is to make grocery delivery simpler. So, I mean, we're continuing to go down that path. And I, for the first time, did an in-car pickup this weekend, and it was amazing. I ordered online. I drove there. I sat in a little bay. I called a number. They're like, "We'll be right there." I opened the hatch on the back of my car. They popped some stuff in, and I drove away. And I mean, I used to always be an in-store shopper, so it's definitely going, that direction. So
and Amazon has been wanting to do this for quite some time. When I was living in Los Angeles, I guess this happened probably 8 years ago. I got a delivery at my house, just a random box from Amazon with a bunch of groceries. I never asked for this. I never ordered this. I just had a brand new Amazon Fresh box with a bunch of stuff. I didn't know what it was. I ended up donating it because I thought it was like a mistake. But then I found out days later that they were trying to do this like trial program. Like, you probably should have let me know. But yeah, I think that's going to be amazing. Coupled with, have you guys seen their facility with the thing in Seattle where you just go and you take the thing out the door and it scans you as you walk out? Have you experienced that, Ross?
No.
Oh, it's amazing.
We have things scanning us now.
Oh yeah.
So the implants are real, Merrill?
You've had things scanning you for a long time.
Long time, yeah.
Yeah, people are like, "Oh, they're going to track me." It's like, you were given a social security number when you were born. We've been tracking you your whole life. And by the way, This is recording everything you're doing. If you ever notice, you turn on Facebook or anything, and it's like, "Oh, it just fed me an ad for Amazon Fresh. How did you know we were just talking about that?" Weird.
Yeah, it did start targeting me when I just had my baby, and I've been talking about babies, and then all of a sudden all my ads change on my phone, and it's like Bump Box and this thing and this thing. And I'm a sucker, so I buy things when it does that. I need to stop feeding the beast because I'm really bad about that. Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, let's wrap this up. Oh, go ahead. No, please.
No, I was going back to his comment about the Amazon where you just kind of walk out too. I mean,
yeah,
being the cashier industry is going the opposite direction of the DTG industry. I mean, I even just went into a gas station yesterday and that was self-checkout. I mean, it's
seriously.
Yep.
Yeah. And now McDonald's is doing all automated things as well.
Yeah.
So before we go, this is something that came up to me. I would love to talk about from your perspective / a worker's perspective. I know there's a lot of fear around automation. However, at a certain point, none of us are going to have the opportunity to choose. Like everything's going to be automated for some degree of what you do. So where is the middle ground for you? Where's the sweet spot? And what are you able to do with your team now that you're able to not have to have them kind of do this regular monotonous stuff and focus on more thoughtful, engaging things?
Look, I think automation is a beautiful thing. And I think that there's a lot of people that see it, have this big fear, and they go, oh, it's going to replace humans. There's not going to be any room for human jobs. I don't believe that. All right. Sure. I just said to you that I think a cashier job is a thing of the past. But humans, we evolve, right? We that's what we do. That same fear, if you go back to the Industrial Revolution, everybody was so scared. Oh my God, no, there's never going to be a work for anybody again. But coming out of it, more jobs than there were ever before, better economies than there ever were before. So it streamlines your operations. It makes you better, it makes you faster. But you always are going to need humans. And granted, I get that AI, and I am a bit scared about AI. I could go down a wormhole there. I don't think we have time to do that. But
another show.
But you're going to always need humans. You're going to always need critical thinkers. And the more automation allows you to use people for better things, right? Like it allows you to grow your business. I can have more people doing sales, more people doing marketing, more people doing creative, and your business again evolves. And we've also seen that's why there's more developers now than there ever has been. And that industry is just going to keep growing. So, it scares a lot of people. To me, it doesn't scare me, but we're cognizant about it, right? Like anytime even when I brought in your equipment, it crossed my mind. It has to as a business owner. Are the people in the fulfillment department going to look at these machines and go, oh shit, there's 50 of us. Is my time numbered? Like, are they going to fire half of us because now they have these machines? That's not the case. And again, I'm excited to automate. I mean, the ROQ was a step in automation. We're looking to add conveyors around the building, again, to make people more efficient. If you look at Ross, you've been in our building, it's big. If you look at step count, the average step count of our employees, it's far too high. They're spending too much time walking around than they are doing what their actual job is. Walking has become such an integral part of their job. So we allow them to be more efficient. When we put in conveyors, we're going to make it so that somebody goes from walking 5 miles a day to maybe like half a mile a day. There's still work for them. They're just being more efficient. So I embrace automation.
And less healthy. Just throwing that out there.
although better for their bodies from, the monotony of having to fold and that kind of thing. So it's a trade-off. I like the idea of like what you're going after, like automation in conjunction with people is the way to go to help them do their jobs more efficiently, to help them do their jobs more creatively.
But yeah, it's a genuine fear that you have to understand as a business. But again, I don't, if you don't automate and you don't evolve, you're going to be left in the dust. I mean, it's just, there's no other way around it. And again, humans will evolve. They'll become jobs that we never knew that existed before, because that's just what we do.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, cool. I want to kind of wrap this up, and Jed wanted to give you a chance to tell our audience how they can find Stakes Manufacturing via the web, website, perhaps Instagram, Facebook handles, any of that kind of stuff that you've got, so people can take a look at what you guys are doing.
Absolutely. So you can check us out at stakesmfg.com or stakesmanufacturing.com. Either will get you there. And if you're interested in working with us, for us, or just interested more about our mission statement as a business and kind of what we're doing, please reach out to us through the website. There's a contact form there, and we'd love to hear from you.
That's awesome, man. And then just kind of final thoughts. What is like one fun fact, fulfillment experience, sale that you guys did, just something just super cool that's like a fun thing for you to tell everyone about Stakes?
It's an interesting question. I don't know what's fun to the audience versus what's fun to me, right? So for what's fun to me is we got to print T-shirts and jackets for the Washington Capitals and the Washington Nationals when they won the Stanley Cup and the World Series. We actually printed the jackets that they were wearing on the podium at the end when they're doing all the trophy speeches and stuff. That was a pretty cool moment
super
for me as a diehard DC sports fan to not only have this like great moment, but then like feel like I'm a part of it and producing product for it. That was a very, very cool experience. You know, when you deal with so many people in sports and entertainment on a daily basis, you almost get numb to it. It doesn't have the sort of same coolness factor that it does to other people. But that one hit home, and that one was really cool. And then the other one is we're actually doing something right now, actually, for as I mentioned earlier, my brother has Fragile X. So there's a big the National Fragile X Foundation does a big annual fundraiser called the X Strides event. Which we are the main sponsor for and doing T-shirts for. And that's always cool too, man, because it's like,
it's awesome.
It makes me feel like we're walking the walk and not just talking about it. And we're being a part of cool things. So I think those are two cool things that we've been involved with that I've been really excited about. And I think just our growth too. I mean, it's been very difficult and it's been hard, but it's fun. It's fun. I call it being Rocky Balboa. You just get knocked down every round, but if you're still standing by the end of the match, you're the champion. And I think that's what running a business is. And I've been very proud of our team's ability to just keep getting back up to every challenge that knocks us down. And excited to just keep growing and have a bigger impact on the industry and a bigger impact on the community.
Most
That's
excellent.
awesome, man. And I think that your anthem each shift should be I Get Knocked Down by Chumbawamba. So every time the shift change happens, that song should play based on the
or the Rocky
comments that you just made.
Too.
Yeah, you could do both, or get someone like Merrill to mix the two together, because I bet he could find some creative way to do that.
So my actual anthem about getting knocked out is good old Frank Sinatra. That's life. And I play that song for my kids. And I literally not just play it for them, but have them listen to it as a lesson, because people are like,
that's what all the people say.
Entrepreneurs are like different people. No, we're not. You just got to learn to always get back up. And I think that is every aspect of life, So I really try to ingrain that in my kids. And that's one of my favorite songs of all time. I did think you were going to say that we should do the Rocky anthem when we were going to shift change. That might be pretty cool too.
I think we should. We'll have to do something with
awesome.
Ton of rock with there somehow. But also, Jed, I would love if there is a link that we can share with the audience when this comes out to support the event with your brother. That would be great. Happy to do
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah, it's
absolutely.
If you just go to fragilex.org, it's actually, you can see all the stuff right on the homepage there.
Fragilex.org. Thank you so much. Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, with that, Jed, I want to say thank you so much for joining us, man. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Merrill, thank you for putting this together. Kristen Sousa in the background here, making sure we all sound okay. Thank you for being here, madam. And to all our rockers out there, non-rockers, printers, non-printers, keep pressing onward. And we'll see you next time.
We'll see you on the road.
Thank you.
Tremendous thanks to Jed Seifert for joining us today. As always, thank you for spending time with us this week, and thank you for trusting us as your partner in print. Tune in at your convenience wherever you listen to your podcast by searching Rock Shop Talk. We'll be on a limited summer schedule for the rest of the tour, but we'll be back soon on our next episode. If you'd like to request to be on the show, please visit rock.us/rockshoptalk. If you found today's episode helpful, please recommend it to a friend who you think might find it helpful as well. Please like, share, and subscribe on social media. And until next time, rockers, press onward.